Clear Shots is brought to you by Pinecast. Use the code R-63F8FB to get 40% off your first 4 months.
Don't give them clear shots. Don't give them clear shots. Don't give them clear shots. Don't give them clear shots.
Okay. We're live again. I guess you could say.
What's a game? And I won't say. I'm going to ask you this question. I'm not going to say The Witcher 3 this time.
I think it's probably The Witcher 3.
What's a game that was critically acclaimed that all of your friends or most of your friends or a lot of your peers were completely infatuated with, that you just did not understand the appeal, whether it was critically or locally, or you know what I mean?
Well, I would say Minecraft.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I tried to play it, and it was irritating that it felt like there was just... It felt like you would just do a bunch of building and shit for no payoff. You know? Like, I feel like it's just a sandbox game with no objective or any... Like, I feel like once you build something, that's it. Now you do it again. And I didn't like that it was kind of... I mean, I guess I didn't play it enough to really figure it out. But it was, like, weird because you kind of walk around like it's an FPS game or something. Instead of, like, an overhead editor of some sort. It's just kind of a weird concept. And I think the graphics annoyed the shit out of me.
Really? Did you play with Legos when you were younger?
Yeah. But I was more of a Mega Bloks guy. Mega Bloks were way better because you could build shit that like you could get inside of. They were fucking huge. Yeah, Mega Bloks were like this big.
No, they had Mega Bloks that were tiny. I did have the big ones.
Oh, those are the gay ones. You gotta have the big ones.
Yeah, I did have the big ones. I always made swords with them.
Yeah, because the big ones you could build forts and shit.
Yeah.
Like you could build that whole lineup of cabins right there with fucking Mega Bloks.
For sure.
It's like they're not really mega if they're the little ones. You know?
Yeah, then they're just blocks.
Right, yeah, they're just regular blocks. They're just a rip-off of Legos.
Yeah, I can definitely see where Minecraft is confusing. I think
the Call of Duty games, the newer Call of Duty games really were the ones that got me the most because people just play the shit out of Call of Duty still, and
I don't get it.
They don't really change anything. I'm
not going to say I don't get it because I played World War II last year.
Yeah.
But it was really I basically spent $60 to play a game for just a month.
Yeah. Also, any game that's an RTS. Fuck that.
You don't like RTSs?
No, I'm never playing an RTS. Because I played Halo Wars, and I also played Command and Conquer, and they were awful. Because I cannot understand how you do anything in those games. Because it doesn't matter what strategy I fucking did. It's like, oh, save up for like all your big units. Okay, I can do that. Or I can build a bunch of smaller units. But I never understood like map movement or any of that shit. Because your map is blacked out when you start.
Yeah, I don't like that about them.
So unless you know the map already, you're kind of fucked.
I definitely agree with Halo Wars. I never played CNC. Halo Wars,
they're the same.
Yeah, Halo Wars 1 and 2 are both on Game Pass. And I downloaded the first one.
I didn't play the second one.
I downloaded the first one, and I couldn't get past the tutorial. Everybody was telling me that, it's because I do like a lot of RTS games. I like the Civilization games. I liked End War. I like StarCraft. I like Warcraft.
I felt like it was too confusing to like try and pick units and things, like hold and highlight all the units you want to use.
Yeah, definitely, they do not work on console.
Right. I feel like it would definitely be better on computer for sure.
Yeah,
But I know people play those games, and people play Dota and shit, and I just don't get any of those top-down kind of strategy games, you know?
Yeah, I never, Sean and Anthony tried getting me into Dota. I played with Sean quite a bit because it was just fun to just, get high and play Dota. But Sean is like probably one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like ever. He's fucking insane at Dota.
We're going to have him on soon, too.
Yeah,
I think after Thanksgiving.
I can't wait. League of Legends I played, but that was another thing. I think it wasn't really the gameplay. It was really a game where, I only played in high school and college, and for me, it was a game where I can get a bunch of my buddies on, get drunk or high, and fuck around and with like wizards and shit.
I felt like World of Warcraft was one too.
Yeah, I was gonna say MMOs, and then also Zelda is a game. Any Zelda game, I couldn't do it. A lot of platformers.
The only one I really played was Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And I really liked that game, but that was when I was a kid, so I don't really know. If I revisited it, I'd probably still like it, because I felt like it was a good game. But all the other ones, I didn't really play any of them besides Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, I was just going to ask you.
Breath of the Wild felt totally different. Like, Breath of the Wild felt to me like it was more of a Skyrim, like Witcher sort of thing, where it was an open world. I felt like in Ocarina of Time, it's pretty linear.
Yeah. I was going to say also, this is a thing I get trashed with a lot, because a lot of my friends, and I know you like it too, but the new God of War, I've played. I don't have a PS4 and I don't own it, but one of my friends got it and he wanted me to play it because I love Dark Souls, and he was like, "Oh, you like the combat?" And I'm like,
it's a little bit similar, but
it's a little similar, and it's just
closer to a hack and slash.
Yeah, and it was a weird. I don't like hack and slash games that are that slow, and also from that perspective, I like the Devil May Cry.
How far was he into the game at the time? Like, did he have all the weapons and shit?
Yeah, he had quite a few. He had a lot of abilities, but it was really just it. It's just like, I think a part of it was it felt slower than I had wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It really felt kind of sluggish.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
once you get like all of the weapons, the combos you can pull off are awesome, because you can switch between weapons like instantaneously. So you're doing you can do 2 different special attacks with each weapon. So if you chain your combo together, right, you can be like special attack with this weapon, switch to the other special attack with that, switch back to the other one, do a bonus attack or whatever it fucking is, like the big special attack. And then you'd switch back and do another, and then there's like a big move too that you do, like I think you push both of the LT and RT or whatever, or L1, R1 on PlayStation. Yeah,
and another one really came down to games like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley.
Yeah,
where it's like you kind of just run a farm.
Yeah, those are just kind of
those very much. They're very casual.
They're just time sinks. It really is what they are.
SimCity games like that. I got Prison Architect.
I never got into The Sims in general.
Yeah.
I felt like people played a lot of that.
Yeah, I played The Sims a lot when I was younger, and I tried playing the newest one recently, and I didn't like it. And then I got Prison Architect, and I was really interested in that one because a lot of people said it was fun because you're the warden of a prison.
It's those kind of games, like even Fallout Shelter and things like that. I couldn't really get into
those. And
I played it, and
it has to have. Oh, go ahead.
At a certain point, you realize, like in Fallout Shelter, it doesn't matter how you build it up. Like at a certain point, things are too much for you, and there's no way to fix it because you don't have the resources to fix it. So now you're fucked, and you basically have to start over.
And it's funny too. Nowadays, I used to love co-op.
I mean, I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's similar, like it's a like I played City Skylines, which was pretty cool. And
I tried that one too. I couldn't do that.
It's kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon for cities.
Yeah. What the other one I tried, I used to love games like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Or Killing Floor. And I have Left 4 Dead 2. and I have Killing Floor 2.
They're just repetitive.
And I have both Vermintide games, Warhammer Vermintide.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's the thing, the repetitiveness.
Yeah. I feel like with Left 4 Dead, it was like there was 4 levels, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you would just run through those short little campaigns, and that's it. It's like, really, like, what do you have to go for after you beat it?
Another big one, too, is the asymmetrical games that, like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wes loves Dead by Daylight. And it sucks because I watch him play it, and I'm like, this is fucking dope. This is so fucking cool. And then it's like, I try playing it, and
they don't explain to you anything.
No.
That's the problem. I mean, I tried to play both of those games, and I get, they just throw you in a game, and it's not really clear what your objective is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of things highlighted on the map, but it's like, what do I do with any of these things? All I do is run away from whoever's who's chasing me.
Yeah, and I love, I like right now, like I still play Human Fall Flat, that game, because I haven't beaten it still. I love that game.
Yeah, I just play it even if I haven't beaten it, just because I like to pick it up and just play around with the physics.
Yeah, and obviously I play a ton of sports games and like RPGs and stuff like that. But like I was saying, I was talking to Brian and Paul and Sean after you and Katie left D&D the other night about The Witcher. Or no, it was before you guys got there. We were talking about The Witcher.
Well, it's The Witcher for you. It's Dark Souls for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't get into Dark Souls.
Brian was like, well, you don't like The Witcher because you don't like the combat. And that's part of it. I didn't like the combat very much. But it's hard for me to get into an RPG where you're leveling up and micromanaging, but you don't make up the story. You're just placed into a story, you know? That's why I like games like Divinity or Pillars or Fallout or Elder Scrolls where, you know, you have your own headcanon about what your character's about, what your character thinks, does. Right. When you're playing, I mean, obviously, it's different. It's not exactly the opposite. Like with The Witcher, it's like, yeah, you're playing as Geralt or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you do make decisions.
You do make decisions, but you're also playing as a character whose arc is set in stone. In a way. And then I guess the last one would be superhero games.
Yeah.
Like
I really liked
games.
I liked the Arkham games.
Did you really?
Yeah. They're pretty much repetitive too.
Yeah.
But I felt like the story was really cool, especially the first one when you first hit like
Arkham
the Joker.
Asylum was the first one, right?
Yeah.
I liked that one a lot.
When you hit the Joker scene in that one, it's so cool.
I liked Arkham Asylum a lot. I didn't like the rest of them.
There was a Scarecrow scene in the first one that was fucking awesome.
And then also Ubisoft classic, you know, fucking go to this part of the map, clear it out, unlock it, shit like that. That got really repetitive too.
Yeah, and it's also like get all these collectibles kind of things.
Yeah.
Those kind of open world games are like that.
Mm-hmm. I think at this point I've been playing video games. I mean, we've both been playing video games for so long that
we've seen it all. That's the thing.
The same thing with movies. You know, our likes and dislikes are very curated and very set in stone.
Right.
And they're expensive. Video games are really expensive.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that the other day. It's like when you don't get to like rent games like you used to.
No.
Like back in the day, you could pay $5 and rent a game for a week.
And if you really liked it, you would save up the money and buy it.
Yeah. They should just do that even with digital games. They should say, "Hey, you just pay X amount of money and you get access to that title for X amount of time,
12 hours,
or
something." You know, that's why like certain Xbox games they give you a trial. They give you like a 4 or 5 hour trial.
They should all have
trials. Remember demos? Like demos when PS3 and 360 came out, they had demos, and now they don't have demos anymore.
Yeah,
that's where I got a lot of the games I liked, you know, like Time Shift or the Resistance games, a lot of sports games.
Yeah, it's rare that you find demos, and a lot of times what the demos are now are just betas.
Yeah.
And not all games have that either. It's like with Red Dead. It's like, okay, I would probably enjoy Red Dead, but number one, I don't want to put that much time into it. And number two, I don't know if I really want to play it because I haven't tried it.
Yeah, remember the best demo I ever played was Just Cause 2.
Because you can keep playing that forever.
It drops you into the game. You have like medium leveled equipment, medium strength equipment.
Yeah.
And
it just lets you do whatever you want.
You get like a half hour or 45 minutes at a time. Once your time's up, you end. Same with Crackdown. Remember Crackdown?
Yeah.
It was the same thing. The demo was, you know, you play for an hour. You can do as much as you want in that hour, and then when the hour's up,
Yeah,
it's over.
just let you sandbox with the fucking game for a while.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem is people don't want to pay $60 to get a game that they don't like, and then what are you going to do? Because on Xbox you can't refund them yet.
No.
Apparently they're supposed to do that soon. But you can't, if you buy it physical, now you've paid $60, and when you go back to GameStop, you're going to get $30 for it.
Yeah, and then
If that.
And then if you want to return it and get a refund, you have to have the receipt and you have to buy it used.
Yeah.
But even then, you can only do that so many times before they get suspicious nowadays.
Yeah, and also it's like just the idea of getting up and spending $60 on it in general, and all the work that goes into having to bring it back and all that shit. It's too much of a pain in the ass just over a game that you don't like.
I honestly can't tell you. I think the last game that I dropped $60 on was Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really just because, I wanted to play it. I thought I'd like it, and I did like it. But it's also a game where you have to spend a lot of time.
It's an investment game,
and I just can't do it. I can't. I might pick it up again.
Thing is, once you build your character and you're like in the post, like the end game, that's when like shit starts to get. Like, that's when you can really build your character and have things be like, this piece of armor works well with this, and like this ability goes well with this. Like the helmet that I have lets me charge all my abilities if I'm using a certain subclass. So if I use the Void subclass, every Void kill I get, whether it's a weapon or a ability, it recharges my ability and super. So like I'm constantly like having all of my abilities charged just because of the way my character's built. And you don't get that when you're playing through the campaign. You just equip whatever's most powerful just to level up.
Yeah. How did you feel? Did you ever play Diablo 3?
I played Diablo 2. And that was it.
3 yet?
I didn't like 2 that much either, though. That's the thing.
I think you'd like 3, because I like 2 quite a bit. I like 3 a shit ton, because 3 is... the story is pretty decent. The abilities are cool. The bosses are interesting. But then, like you said with Destiny, once you beat Diablo 3, you unlock your entire skill tree, and then you can just pick and choose on the fly. Yeah,
then you actually can build shit.
Yeah, and I think really the thing about Destiny is, I think for me is that those kind of elements don't feel natural with a first-person shooter.
It's definitely different. I think the way that they did it, I think they did it well. But the thing is, like, what I really like about Destiny is that there's so many different ways to play it, and you always are progressing. So if you're like a guy who likes to play competitive, you can just play PvP, and you're still going to level up, like almost at the same rate. Or you can just be a guy who's casual and plays PvE pretty much all the time like me, and you can still level up doing that. So it's like you can kind of play whatever way you want, which is nice. And, also they have Gambit and things like that now. So, like, I like when games give you options on ways to play them. I think that's something a lot of games don't do now. I feel like Call of Duty doesn't. Like, there's a multiplayer, and then there's, like, I heard Black Ops 4 doesn't even have a campaign.
No, it's got zombies multiplayer, and I think, like, a challenge mode or a co-op mode or something.
Yeah, and it has the... Battle Royale mode.
Oh, that's what it is. Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing that sucks too, is that I might be one of the few people that I bought COD World War II because I really wanted to play the story. And the story, I'm not going to say that I probably earlier said that it was a waste of $60 or I spent $60 just to play the game for a month. But honestly, the story was worth it. The story for World War II was really interesting.
That's the thing with COD and Battlefield. I will play the campaigns.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're not... I feel like if I'm playing online in those games, I have to just be a tryhard. And I feel like if I'm playing the campaign, that's when I can just sit back and play it and shoot shit. Because I started playing Battlefield 1 last night, and it's like, I just am shooting things, which is nice.
Are you doing the campaign or the multiplayer? The campaign? See, in the campaign for Battlefield 1, I just could not.
There wasn't anything.
You start off with
and
the
you
tank,
keep switching characters, too.
Yeah.
There's no, like, continuity.
I don't think I've ever beaten a Battlefield campaign. because they always get to a point where it's just
I finished 4.
Yeah. I love the Call of Duty campaigns. World at War was a wicked good one.
I just really liked, I liked World at War, and I liked the first campaign, the first Call of Duty game. That game was like, it was amazing when it came out.
Modern Warfare 1 was pretty dope.
Even Modern Warfare 2 was pretty good. Call of Duty 4 was probably, like, overall, that's probably their best game. And I think World at War was pretty damn close.
Yeah.
But they felt a little different. They had a different feel to them.
That was before they got crazy with the kill streaks, and
yeah,
if Modern Warfare 2 just had, the emblems and the titles to unlock, and then all the guns and stuff.
Well, the games get crazy with skins and shit. Like, everybody who plays Fortnite is, like, getting skins. Like, that's where they're making their money.
Of it, is making your character look cool.
Yeah.
And it's basically just gambling. That's why kids are playing it.
Yeah.
Because it's a free game, and parents are like, oh, well, the game's free, so here's, $20 to fucking...
Here and there. It's like, oh, really? You just paid, like, $200 for this game.
Yeah.
Like, after a month of playing it.
Yeah, Fortnite is... That's probably my number one answer. This specific topic.
I do
not understand the appeal of Fortnite. And this is funny because you and I both... We don't play it together anymore, but for a solid 2 months... We legitimately played PUBG together probably every night, every other night for hours.
Yeah. Because PUBG, the shooting mechanics are at least realistic.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's skill there. Like, there has to be some sort of skill there. I feel like with Fortnite, it's such a... the mechanics are just so fucking stupid. And the way that the inventory works is fucking dumb. It's fucking just stupid that it's cartoony looking in the first place. I get the appeal because, especially if you're a kid, like, that's something. But the thing is, with battle royale games, you don't have to really dedicate any time or any actual effort into it. You just play it, and then when the game's over, you play it again. Yeah. There's no real progression. The only thing in those games is getting skins. And even in PUBG, really, it's just all you're really earning is some clothes. But it's also not super focused on that either. And they're not constantly begging you to buy shit.
Yeah.
Because with Fortnite, they update it every week. And they add new fucking things that you buy.
I think... Do you have Mortal Kombat X still?
Yeah.
Do you have it on disc?
I don't think so.
No?
I think I got it on sale for like $8 on the store.
Because I want to play fighting games again. I want to get Soul Calibur 6. That's the next game I'm getting, for sure. Because Soul Calibur is...
I don't remember if they said it was good or not. I think Kenny has it.
I heard it's phenomenal. I heard the character creation is subpar right now, but they're going to be adding new stuff to character creation as they go along. It may or may not be DLC, but that's a game like Soul Calibur 5. I had over 1,000 hours in that. Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X, I had at least a couple hundred hours.
You could try Dragon Ball too. Fighters.
Xenoverse? Oh, Fighters? Oh, yeah, I forgot that came out. That game was good, right?
Yeah, it's really good. There's a new one coming out, too, called Jump Force or something. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. Do you have that? Do you have Dragon Ball Fighters on disc?
I think so.
Because I like Xenoverse, too. Dragon Ball is one of those things that it's not a guilty pleasure, but it's a thing that I don't really think about.
It's also they're not really that high effort. Like, they can be. Like, there's levels that are super hard, but
it's a high floor, or it's easy to get into, but it's also like you can fucking get super good at those games.
Yeah.
That's what I like about Mortal Kombat, is that Mortal Kombat, you can sit down with somebody that's never played it before and they'll still have a good time and they can still beat you.
Just because they spam uppercuts.
Yeah, and then, you get games like Street Fighter or Soul Calibur where there's a lot of technique and a lot of timing.
Yeah.
Like Soul Calibur 5, I remember it was at least, it was a long time before I realized how to do combos. Yeah. Like, it was a while before I realized how to do combos and special attacks because your timing and your frames had to be timed perfectly.
Yeah.
And I spent most of my time with Soul Calibur 5 creating characters from movies and other video games and anime and shit.
I feel like I'd spend a lot of time learning combos with a single character.
Yeah.
Because if I learn it with a single character, then I'll be good with a single character, and then as soon as I go to someone else, I'll be completely lost.
I remember
which is why Dragon Ball's good, because a lot of times their combos are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So like there'll be different moves, like different animations, but you have the same combos. Like your combos are always, they're going to carry over across all characters. So it's definitely a playability aspect. And it's also because they have a younger audience, I think. There's probably younger players that play those.
I feel like Dragon Ball is Pokemon, but an anime form. It's one of those things where if you liked Dragon Ball when you were younger, and it's so consistently decent.
Yeah, and it's always there. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't go away.
I don't really know a lot of hardcore Dragon Ball fans that get aggressive about stuff. You know, there's a lot of other video games and anime and stuff like that where the fans are very diehard. You know what I mean? Like Naruto or Full Metal Alchemist.
Well, that's what that Jump Force game is supposed to be, is like all a bunch of anime games sort of mashed into one fighting game.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
So you could have like Frieza versus like One Punch Man or something.
Or like Yu Yu Hakusho or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting, and you got to scale the power levels like in a weird way.
I see a BioShock too. BioShock's a fucking great game.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite series.
That's probably BioShock 1.
I have the collection.
Yeah. I remember the first time I played BioShock 1.
Yeah.
I still remember that.
Would you kindly find a crowbar or something?
Yeah. Would you? Oh my God. That story, the powers, because there weren't really a lot, because that came out in like 2006.
Yeah.
That was like a launch title, I think, for that generation. Or close to it.
I remember getting the achievement for going through the whole campaign with just the wrench.
Yep.
That's all you needed was the electro bolt and the fucking wrench.
Hit him with the 1-2 punch. Zap him and smash him.
The 1-2 punch.
You played BioShock 2, I'm guessing then, right? Where you play as the prototype Big Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. When you have the drill rush.
Yeah.
And you just launch and you hit people and they fly like 50 feet.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, so dope.
And it was nice to be able to, because in the first one you had to switch to your plasmids, then use them, then switch back to your weapon.
Yeah, that's right. The second one you could do.
You had both.
Right? Yeah.
And you could throw bees at people.
Yeah, not enough games let you throw fucking bees at people. Yeah. No, and that's funny too, because I loved the first two, but I really did not like BioShock Infinite.
I really liked it because it felt like they were moving it towards like a faster paced shooter, but at the same time their story was really fucking good, especially like when you get to the end and you realize what's happening.
Yeah, I would say the story for Infinite was really good.
Yeah,
that's another game.
At the end of all the games, really, there's like a revelation where you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is fucking awesome.
Like the first one was the Would You Kindly thing.
Yeah.
What was the second one?
The second one was the sister, I think it was like about Eleanor or whatever, that little girl.
It was like your daughter or something?
Yeah, something like that. And you're sort of like supposed to be her protector or some shit.
Yeah, she was the original little sister.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then there was the big sister too. I can't think of
the fucking sketchy.
The one that's like jumping around super fast and shit, and you have to kill her at the end. I think, or unless she saves you at the end, I can't remember.
I think the big sisters were like a normal enemy that you fought, like a sub boss sort of thing, and then you fight the big bad one at the very end.
Yeah.
That's actually, the first one is a game where the final boss was wicked disappointing, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's not that bad unless you play it on hard.
Yeah.
Really. Like, most of the game's pretty easy.
The Metal Gear games are like that, too.
But it's because you get so much health throughout the game. As long as you don't fucking pop it all the time, you're fine.
You never played any of the Metal Gear Solid games, did you?
No, I only played the first one a little bit, but
They're number 2 and number 3, which in my opinion are the best ones, are backwards compatible now. You can get both of them for $20. I recommend those, especially the third one. That's a game that you would definitely enjoy because it's a stealth survival supernatural combination. You know, you get sent to Russia to save this scientist and stop him from developing a nuclear weapon against his will. And you get stopped and you get left for dead by your old commander. And
Left for Dead.
Yeah, you go back to America, you get patched up, and then they send you back out there to take your old commander out and all of her fucking,
goons,
lieutenants and shit. Yeah. But that's a game where you could throw bees at people, I think.
As long as you can throw bees. You're fine.
You fight this guy. You fight the Cobra unit. You fight this guy called the Pain, who attacks you with bees, and then you fight the Fear, who uses a stealth camouflage and he can climb trees really well, and he uses a poison crossbow.
That's always good.
And then you fight the Fury. No, you fight the End, who's the sniper that doesn't need to eat, so he can just stay in one spot. And he is like part plant, and he can like use photosynthesis to regain health. And he can communicate with nature. And then you fight the Fury, who's like this guy with a jetpack and flamethrowers. And then you fight the Sorrow, who's like a half human, half ghost sort of thing. And it's weird. Really fucking cool. That game, the story is fucking awesome. I always cry at the end. The gameplay is great because you have to survive in the jungle.
I always like when you can use the AI against the AI.
Yeah. Like, you can go around in Metal Gear Solid 3 and you can hunt, like, venomous snakes and you can tranquilize them and catch them in a cage, and then you can go to an enemy outpost and, like, throw the poisonous or the venomous snake at somebody.
Like in Isolation, where you can use the alien against them.
Yeah.
Or, like, in Assassin's Creed, where you could shoot berserk darts at them and then just have the enemies like attack the other ones and shit.
Yeah.
And then you're basically clearing out the whole area because you just have the AI attack themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And even BioShock had that. It was called Possession, and you could possess cameras or enemies, and like the cameras would set off the alarm.
There was like a rage thing too, right?
Yeah, Enrage. Yeah,
Enrage.
I think Possession would. I think that's what it was. There was Enrage that you use on enemies that makes them attack their own allies. And then the Possession you could do it on gadgets like the cameras and those weird bot things that fly around. And the cameras would set off the alarm.
The ones that go like
yeah, and then it would fucking murder you.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroy you. But what was cool about those is you could zap them and then hack them and have them work for you. Mm-hmm. And they just like follow you around.
The fucking noise when you go to hack them, like
yeah,
yep,
yeah. Even the hack mini games are kind of fun with the tubes.
Yeah, and I think did you like the first Metal Gear Solid when you played it? I mean, it was probably like fucking.
I was young, so I couldn't beat it at all. I was so lost.
You would probably really like Metal Gear Solid 2 as well, because that one's the standard, kind of overhead stealth Metal Gear Solid game.
It's basically an RTS.
No. But the boss fights in Metal Gear Solid 2 and the combat and all that and the stealth was fucking great. It was very. And the story.
I always liked stealth games like Splinter Cell and things like that, because I even thought Splinter Cell Conviction was one of the better ones, and it was like very. Like where it gives you kind of a meter on the side, it'll tell you how dark you're, like what darkness you're in.
It's weird that there hasn't been a Splinter Cell game in like 5 years. Blacklist,
I think was, and that might have even been like a 360 game.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. I remember they had the co-op mode that was fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I remember playing that with like Wes and like Nick and stuff constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Splinter Cell thing on the Division, so the goggles.
Yeah. Fuck the Division, dude. The hardest game I've ever played.
It's weird because I don't know. I'm stuck in this like Destiny loop where I don't want to like really play anything else at this point. Like I want to get all my characters to max level, and I have one already there, and the other one's close, and I have my Titan, which
You have one in each class.
Yeah. So, like, I want to get them all to max and then just have them all have special, like, builds. But it takes so long to do that, and it takes away your time from other games if you want to play. Like, that's pretty much it. I play that, and I play, like, Madden and the show. And it's like, you know, like, every once in a while I'll hop on, like, Rocket League or something, PUBG. But it's like, those games you don't have to invest time into. They're just, like, there to play. And then you don't, there is no real investment. That's all it is.
Yeah, I started playing 2K this past week, actually.
I picked that up once in a while. I picked it up a couple days ago.
What I recommend, does 2K16 have the league mode where you can control every single team? I recommend going in and making a custom roster and make a custom draft class and put yourself into it.
Well, you can download other people's rosters too, right?
Yeah. So, like, download the most up-to-date roster, and this is what I do, actually. Once a week or every other week, I'll I have the updated roster.
So it's like, you really don't need, if you can just download updated rosters, like, you really don't need to buy newer games.
No, the 2K I've been playing is from, like, fucking 2 years ago. I have 2K17, which is the best one in my opinion. But what I do is I go on, there's this website that has every single NBA player. I don't think it's every single one, but it's like every single high profile one from like the 60s and on. And I go on there and I pick a random player, and then I create that player in the game, and I pretend that it's me, and I go through and see if I can emulate the career. Yeah. Like right now I'm Jason Kidd. So I'm just like a point guard that can shoot.
Just kind of play their role, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you don't try and make yourself, Michael Jordan or, fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that with Madden, just playing as a locked quarterback and just play as Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that shit's wicked fun. Like, I do that with Madden too. Like, I'll go and, for both of them, I'll look up the Ultimate Team card for the player, and I look up their rookie stats, and I start out as a rookie and see if I can make myself as good as that player is. Mm-hmm. Like the middle linebacker I did for the Browns, I picked Urlacher, he is so fun to play because he's the one I was telling you that's straight play recognition, coverage, and pursuit. Like, he doesn't get a lot of sacks, but he's just all over the field.
But he's just there when the ball gets to him.
I did Reggie White, which was hilarious. That was super overpowered. Even as a rookie, super overpowered.
I think middle linebackers are one of the most underrated positions, dude. That spot is like...
That's the quarterback of the defense.
Yeah, essentially. Because because I feel like you're rushing, but you're also holding a gap against the run, and then you're dropping into coverages too. So you really have to know, like, all of it. You have to be able to do everything. You have to be like they're probably one of the highest level athletes on the fucking field.
They're definitely some of the smartest too.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're look fast, at guys, like, it's reaction time kind of thing.
Yeah. The hardest position in Madden, in my opinion, to play is safety. Like, if you're doing player lock, it's safety. It's because it's boring.
Well, I think with safety,
it's super boring for half the time. And when you get into a position to make a play, you have to make the play.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. With safety, I feel like you're coming up a lot and doing. Like, in cover 2, you're coming up to play those, like, dime zones sort of thing. Your corner's going back behind you, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the corners play the 2 deep zones. So, like, you're coming up more than anything. So, like,
as a strong safety, definitely.
Yeah. So you got to do... Well, also you have to make hits.
Yeah.
Because if you miss, then you're fucked.
Strong safeties are fun with Madden if you pick run support. Because then your hitting power and your tackling is super maxed out, and you can just be
I always get excited when I'm a safety and they call a safety blitz, because then there's going to be like an open path, and then you just go as hard as you can.
Yep.
In Madden, if you play it enough, you can time the snaps pretty well too.
Oh yeah, that's the thing that I hate about
like trying to run
the difficulty in really both Madden and 2K. Really, the only sports game where I feel like the difficulty level is very precise is NHL. Mm-hmm. Because, it's the whole game, it's so fast and it's just a war. Yeah. You know what I mean? With 2K, I can't play very well on All-Star, but I crush anybody I play on Pro.
Yeah. I felt like when I played NHL, as soon as I went to pro, I was like lost because
oh my god, it's fucking hard.
it's way too, and they make everything, and they're constantly shooting on you.
Yeah, like for NHL right now, I play All-Star. For NBA, I do the custom sliders, and I have one that's a halfway between pro and All-Star, whatever it is. Not Hall of Fame, yeah, pro and All-Star, or pro and
Pro Star,
whatever the fuck it is, Keemstar. Yeah, the team I'm on now, my character for 2K was drafted by the Warriors. Somehow, I was drafted by the Warriors. He was like a 71 overall. He got drafted with like the 26th pick by the Warriors. And I was just a bench player for 2 years, won 2 rings, and then simulated the offseason and played just like, it'll tell you which games are like the key games, like the nationally televised games or rivalry games, and I played those.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to play the Lakers, and I thought I was just fucked up. Because was I on acid when I did this? Maybe.
I think so.
Or I was coming down from it when I started it. But the Lakers, I don't know how well you follow basketball.
Pretty much not at all.
So they have LeBron now. And they had LeBron when I started my career. Not only do they have LeBron, but they also have Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, and Joel Embiid, who are basically, they're all top 2, top 3 in their position.
Yeah.
They ended up winning like 75 games. They beat the record to win games by fucking 4. They went 75-6 and just dominated. And I ended up getting traded from the Warriors to the Heat. And the Heat had no cap space. And I simulated that offseason, and they just signed a bunch of like
pretty much
low 80, high 70 guys. And now I'm on the Heat, and it's fucking hilarious because I'm a point guard, and I leveled up my passing stats maximum, and my defense is decent, and I just have tons of shooters.
Yeah. Like
stretch fours and fucking shooting guards and sharpshooters, small forwards and stuff like that.
In Madden, well, I said I already played the Super Bowl. I played it last night, and my off season was fucking amazing because I let most of my guys go into free agency, and my salary cap was like, I had so much room. So I ended up getting Julian Edelman, Joey Bosa, and Luke Kuechly. So I also have Clay Matthews, Jair Alexander, and then no one bid on Aqib Talib, so I picked him up and traded him for somebody. So I had like a ridiculous fucking team. My defense is a 97 right now in Madden, and then my offense is an 87, just because the offensive line isn't great. But I feel like in Madden you don't need an offensive line that much, though.
No, I'm on my second season with that Browns team, and I just traded away all my draft picks and then younger players with like quick ratings that I had for the Browns that I didn't use. And I ended up taking, because for some reason in Madden, like, veterans are ridiculously good if you play the game.
Yeah.
Like if you like
the progression is fucking.
Yeah, like Jason McCourty in real life is decent right now. He's playing pretty well on the Patriots. But I have him on the Browns now. And I switched Jabril Peppers from safety to corner. And I have Denzel Ward. And I also have Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
So all my corners are all in the mid to high 80s.
That's the thing is, like, my corners were all guys that we already had.
Yeah.
Like Alexander, but
who's
he had
a
such a good
right? Superstar rating?
He has such a good development that he's like a fucking 89 or something now.
And I think Denzel Ward is already a 94
after like 2 seasons.
But I ended up trading for TJ Watt, who's like an 84. My Urlacher Jones is like an 86. Then I have Jamie Collins, it's like a 94. But my defensive line my defensive line is Myles Garrett and Ndamukong Suh and Khalil Mack, and then fucking there's a defensive tackle on the Browns that's like 2 years in.
It doesn't even
that like has like he has a quick rating and he's like an 86.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. And
just with
Suh is a
and
straight
Khalil
up,
Mack, you're not running against that team.
No, and Ndamukong Suh in Madden is a straight up cheat code.
Yeah.
Cuz he gets double or triple teamed every play, and I ended up getting like 13 or 14 sacks in a season with just Suh, and I had, I think, another 15 with Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
my Urlacher guy had 7.5.
Well, what I found interesting was like a lot of the guys that I let go into free agency were still there after like the initial like biddings.
Yeah. So you can just pick them up on the 1-year deals.
Like, I would like scroll through and like no one had bids on them, so I could just offer them like $4 million.
Yeah.
If that, and be like, oh, the guy that I was just supposed to pay $28 million to is now on my team for $4 million. Thanks.
Yeah. I was telling you this on the bus.
I did that with Blake Martinez, and it was a fucking steal.
Yeah. I was telling you this on the bus Sunday, too. Fucking Jordy Nelson got cut by the Raiders for some reason, even though he's like an 88 or 89, and I picked him up, and he is just...
You gotta get him.
He is just a possession monster.
Yeah. He retired in my league, though.
If you throw the ball to Jordy Nelson and you press A, he just catches it and immediately goes down, and it's like you can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
I think
the possession catches are so good because like anywhere, like especially if you're running a slant and you know you're gonna get hit, just do that. And you're always gonna make it's a 10-yard gain every time. It seems like. I
ended up I kept one of my first round picks because the Browns had one from another team. I think it was the Texans when they got Brock Osweiler, and it was like the 9th or 10th overall pick in the draft, and I ended up picking this receiver. And he had quick development. I can't remember what his name was. I'll send it to you when I get home. He was fucking ridiculous. But he's 6'6", 200. He's basically Calvin Johnson. He's 6'6", 230, and he has like 91 speed and then 98 spectacular catch.
Still doesn't get PIs.
He's my slot. He's my slot.
Still doesn't get PIs.
No. And I think I have Jarvis Landry and Josh Gordon was the guy that he got cut by the Patriots, and I picked him up, and he's only like an 80.
I mean, I stacked my whole team of receivers, and I mean, I got LaShawn McCoy, but I like stacked my receivers. So it's like Adams, Cobb. It was Jordy, but then I picked up Julian Edelman in the offseason. So like I have a wicked good fucking receiving core, and then you also have Jimmy Graham. So
yeah, I think it's really weird how rookies that were hyped up, even if they're not that great, they still like I have Nick Chubb for the Browns, and he has a quick development.
Yeah.
And so I just put all of his points in trucking. So he's like 80-something, 88 speed, but 97 trucking.
I mean, as long as you just scout well and get guys that are superstar, that's all you need. And then 2 years later,
can you scout for the development in 19 or no?
I don't think you can get the trait, but like you can kind of tell just from like,
because you can tell based on the tweets.
It gives you, it gives you the rating too. And it also, then you look at their combine score. If it's anywhere like 5.7 or something, if it's like above 5.7, if it's like a 6 or whatever, you're probably fine with the guy.
Yeah. And I always, when I get to like the 3rd or 4th round, I immediately only get guys whose combine scores are super high.
Yeah.
And the highest I found was I
think it goes up to 8, doesn't it?
Yeah. This was a fucking while ago. I ended up finding a guy whose combine score was a 7.9. He was a defensive back. I can't remember if he was a free safety or a strong safety, but he had like you know how it tells you if they were in the top 5 for all their stats for their combine? He had like absolutely no good ratings like tackling or anything like that or coverage, but all of his combine scores were in the top 3.
Yeah.
He was like 1st in speed, 2nd in vertical, 3rd in bench press, like.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. It's like just getting good draft players and then going 2 years into the future.
Yeah, especially because if you get a player like that that's super athletic, you can just user that guy and fucking wreak havoc. And then just put all of his points in awareness, you know?
Yeah.
Because for some reason, like...
Awareness is OP.
Awareness is such a weird stat. Because with 2K, each player has tendencies. So it tells you how they play. Like whether they play from the post or whether they go for layups or they drive a lot.
I feel like the thing
Madden
that they don't
really
do in
have
Madden.
that.
Yeah, I feel like the thing they don't do in Madden is like scheme fits don't really matter too much.
Because like you can have a guy. The thing that pisses me off the most too is
it's like you have a power run guy. It's like if you're playing in a West Coast offense, it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter at all.
I find that vultures are everywhere in Madden too. Like there was one league where I traded 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick for Julio Jones. And he was my number 1 receiver, and he ended up being like the 4th best receiver on the team.
Yeah.
And like my fucking slot receiver, like Kamar Aiken or something, ended up with like 19 touchdowns. That's like, maybe that would happen, but like, why was the computer not throwing to Julio when I simulated those games?
Yeah, that's true.
You can't prioritize your guys. That's what I like about 2K is that you can if you spend the time to manage and micromanage your team,
There's certain
you can have everybody play the way you want. You know, like I have, for the guy I have now, he shoots 70% of the time, but he passes, or his tendency for shooting is a 70. And his tendency for passing is 100. And then his defensive aggressiveness is maxed out. So he fouls out quite a bit, like maybe once every 5 or 6 games. But he's always locking down whoever he's on. And he's always getting assists. He actually just won MVP.
Well, I feel like that's a thing that like you only get from sports games is that kind of micromanaging.
Yeah.
You don't really get that in pretty much anything you could.
The only other game that I've played that has that level of micromanagement is Pillars of Eternity. Or Baldur's Gate, you know, or Neverwinter Nights.
Some games that have like really big skill trees, like
Path of
Exile or something.
That's a game that I tried getting into yesterday that I could not. Like, the gameplay on console is so bad.
Yeah, that's it. I think you need a good computer for that and just have it look really good. Like, dude, Derek's computer runs it ridiculously
He has
well.
that fucking crazy Vive setup, right?
Yeah.
Derek Roth.
Yeah, he really, like, Path of Exile looks great on his computer. Everything does, really. But, you know, it's expensive to get a computer that's, you know, high end. And I get it. I get why people want them. They really do everything. So it's like, you know, the only thing you're really missing out on is some of the exclusives. That's all.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can live without it.
I mean, that's the thing is I mostly play
unless you
sports
fucking
games anyway.
Right. Unless you're like a Halo fan or something. You know, it's like that's the only time you need a console, I guess.
And I'm channeling my inner ill Bill, but I really just want a new NCAA game. I've been really thinking about buying a PS3 just to play NCAA again.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that they have in that I don't understand why they weren't added to Madden. You know, like
picking even position coaches.
Even like when you're the away team and like shit gets crazy on like a third down. And yeah, there was actually a home field advantage. Like you on third downs, your plays would like get all like sort of squiggly and shit. And I feel like
you can't call audibles or hot routes.
Mm-hmm. Like it gives you a little bit more immersion. It makes
like they finally in Madden 18 they changed it so you can change like play-by-play tendencies. Like I remember in the NCAA games you could switch it so like okay, your defense is gonna exclusively go for hard hits or they're going to prioritize shallow passes, or they're going to contain the quarterback and watch for the option.
Yeah.
There were like 9 or 10 different traits that you could select each drive. And Madden finally put that in.
It seems like with Madden, players don't have personalities. Like there's no like special trait to each character. Like, yeah, you can have them have a certain rating higher than another, but it doesn't, the effectiveness in that, like the threshold for how effective that isn't that high.
What was the Madden? Was it 09 or 10 where they put every player into a weapon category? Mm-hmm. So like Jay Cutler would be the cannon.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if you were going to throw it deep, you would have a chance
I think it was 08.
You would automatically have a chance to throw it deeper than normal.
Yeah.
Or if you had like Des Bryant and you went for like
ball hawk,
yeah.
I think it was 08 that did it.
08, yeah, that sounds
09
right.
got rid of it. I still think like 17 is like one of the best ones, and 16 is pretty good too. I thought.
Yeah, I really liked. What's the first one with the connected franchise? Was that 25 or 13, where you could play as the owner, the coach, and the player at the same time?
Yeah.
They still kind of do that now, but it's not
pretty much the same thing. And the thing is, like, it's more or less their franchise mode is pretty much the same thing every year with like a different UI.
Yeah.
I mean, even the menus and everything are pretty much the same.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that the NHL games are lacking is that the franchise modes are very bare bones. Like,
right, yeah.
You know, because I don't have enough time to play every single game. Like when I play 2K, like I said, I'll play the key games or the national games or the rivalry games. Madden, I try to play every game, but eventually I get to a point in the season where I know I'm 9-1 or like 8-2 or something, and I know I'm gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But with NHL, it's like you get a penalty if you simulate, because you have to. It's kind of cool too. Like if you play a game, right? Say, I mean, he's not on the Red Wings anymore, but say you're the coach of the Red Wings, and you have Pavel Datsyuk, and he has a goal to score 20 goals in the first half of the season. And if you don't give him the puck enough, his confidence and his morale goes down and his ratings drop. So you kind of have to play the games to make sure you prioritize that guy.
I think confidence is a thing that should be in Madden too. Like,
and I think it is in Madden, but it's not good at all.
It doesn't really affect anything. Like in the show, it does, especially with your pitchers. Like if you have a pitcher that's given up 3 runs and it's the 4th, it's like now his confidence is way down and it makes his accuracy go down. It's like his velocity is going to drop. And then he also is going to have more trouble like keeping a guy on first. If you have a guy on first, and what's cool too is if you have low confidence, if your pitcher has low confidence and you get a guy on first and you're like just toying with him, kind of like acting like you're going to steal or whatever, that'll drop his confidence too a little bit because he's, constantly watching that guy on first. Yeah. That's a thing. Like, I feel like a lot of teams don't do that enough. Boston was good at that. They were good at that.
Yeah. Boston they're so good at the mental game. That's the thing that's the thing that I think is very underrated with baseball is the mental game. Cause when you make it, I mean, you have the MLB and you have the AAAs, AA, single A's. To make it to the MLB, you have to be very strong mentally.
You got to be real good, especially the fact that your first year in Major League Baseball, all you're really doing is trying to perform so that you get a good contract.
Yeah.
Because you're not really like a full-time player at the time when you get called up.
Yeah, because like you look at guys like the Yankees have drafted guys in the first or second round that were hyped up that they brought up. Like Shelly Duncan I think he was like a 3rd or 4th round pick that was hyped up.
Yeah. Or you see guys like that get paid a lot and then end up having to go back down to AAA for whatever reason. Maybe your roster's got somebody better. Like Byron Buxton played for the Twins for a while, and you go to Syracuse and see him. It's like, well, this guy's been playing in Major League Baseball for like 3 years, but he's in rehab or he's underperforming or the guy behind him in the depth chart is doing better than him. But you still got to pay him. He's still in your organization.
Yeah, the thing with baseball too is all the contracts are guaranteed. There's so much money in baseball.
Yeah, and negotiations are fucking. Once you finally reach that level after you get called up, that's when the negotiations come in, and that's where it's really hard is to try and get the money you want.
That's the big thing too with baseball is a lot of people, and it's really people because the NBA is really popular.
Yeah. But baseball's a money game though. Like
baseball is a money game, and the thing with the NBA is it's very popular in the media, and especially social media. Yeah, and you get players that make the Hall of Fame just because they were like an all-star for like 6 or 7 years. Because like, they're such a center of attention.
It's just a consistency,
and it's like I love when people argue on Reddit or 4chan or other forums like that. Facebook even, where they're like, how is this guy not in the Hall of Fame? And it's talking about baseball. It's like, dude, you have to be fucking ridiculous in baseball to make the Hall of Fame.
Like there's just you have to have such a high level of consistency in baseball.
And then football, the Hall of Fame for football is basically like you have to own records and you have to have been able to last a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's a big argument. There's 2 players in football that I see arguments about whether or not they're going to make the Hall of Fame. 3 of them, actually, now that I think about it. It's Calvin Johnson.
Eli Manning.
Patrick Willis. 4 of them. Calvin Johnson, Eli Manning, Patrick Willis, and Frank Gore. They're the Mount Rushmore of are they going to get in or not. You get Eli Manning.
I think Patrick Willis goes.
I think out of those 4, Patrick Willis will be, in my opinion, if I had to pick one, it'd be him.
I think Eli probably goes too, just because he's got a ring, and I feel like his name too helps.
Yeah, his volume stats. People are like, "Well, he's not efficient," but he is an Iron Man, and he played in basically one of the biggest teams. Took down Tom Brady twice, won 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
I mean, yeah, it's like there's games where he's played really fucking well. I mean, he's really kind of undeniable. It's just his consistency is...
Yeah. And then you get Patrick Willis, who only played for 8 years, but 6 of those years he was first team All-Pro.
Yeah.
The other 2 years he was second team All-Pro, and then he made the Pro Bowl every year. And then you get guys like Frank Gore, he was never, ever considered to be one of the best running backs in the league.
No, but he was such a good power back.
Yeah, he's been playing for so long that he's like fourth in rushing all time.
Longevity has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and then you get Calvin Johnson, who only played for 7 or 8 years, I think. But he was also Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
And is that 4? Eli Manning, Calvin Johnson, Patrick Willis, and Frank Gore. Yeah. I used to be against Larry Fitzgerald making it in, but now he's second all-time in receiving yards, and he's going to be like third in receptions.
Yeah, I can't see any argument against him.
Not anymore. He's basically the Jason Witten of receivers, where he was number 1 or 2, or he was top 3 for a couple of years, and then he was also, going through a bunch of different quarterbacks and accumulated the stats. He was a nice household name, very professional, consummate professional.
Yeah. He wasn't like Ray Rice, where he was in like a controversy of some sort.
Yeah. Another one even too is Marshawn Lynch.
But his career was short. That's the thing. But
and he's still playing now. But I personally
think it's his off the field is what
because the media has to vote you in.
Yeah,
and that's what's going to keep him out. I mean, they kept T.O., who in my opinion, besides Jerry Rice, is the best receiver of all time.
It's just weird when you leave the game and then you come back to it. Like even Le'Veon Bell's kind of doing that right now.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's kind of it's like a blemish on your career in a way. It's like, because you've been in the league for this long, but have you really? Because if you're gonna fucking dip out for a season or even a half a season like Le'Veon's doing, number one, you're losing your stats because you're not going to be playing, and number two, it doesn't look good because you're like, fuck this team. Like, this team isn't good. I don't want to be with them right now. And I don't know what Le'Veon's deal is. I guess it's his contract situation more than anything. But I think that definitely has a large effect on Hall of Fame inductions. And then you got to look at yearly awards too. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, because I think Marshawn was only a Pro Bowl maybe 5 or 6 times, All Pro only a couple of times.
Yeah, so it's Pro Bowls, it's Super Bowls.
And then you look at, I think what really kills him too is if the Seahawks ran the ball that Super Bowl and he scored it and got Super Bowl MVP, he's a lock. Because he has so many crazy fucking, like, I have never seen a running back pull off the kind of shit that he does.
I'm interested in, because right now the overall stats for quarterbacks in general is going up drastically. So how many of these guys now, what's the standard for who gets in the Hall of Fame? You know what I mean? Even for receivers, their stats are going up. So what is that standard going to be? Because you got guys that are even mediocre quarterbacks that are putting up numbers like the best quarterbacks were 20 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
So now you got a weird situation in the Hall of Fame where you might have guys who are considered average who technically have stats that are fucking ridiculous.
And that's the thing that makes me so angry as a Dallas fan when people talk about how Troy Aikman is... Him and Joe Namath, I feel, are the 2 quarterbacks that are trashed the most for being in the Hall. I've talked about Troy Aikman enough.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that argument. I think
it comes down to people that don't like the Cowboys and they don't like his commentary.
Right.
Because in the 90s, you had John Elway, you had Steve Young, you had Jim Kelly, and you had Brett Favre. But you know who came in the playoffs and fucking destroyed all those teams? Because in the playoffs, a lot of people don't know, in the playoffs, it ended up coming down to Troy Aikman fucking playing out of his mind for a lot of it.
Yeah.
He played better in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. And it's just funny when you look at the triplets and they're like, well, Michael Irvin had Troy Aikman throwing to him, but then Troy Aikman had Emmitt Smith running the ball for him, and then Emmitt Smith had Michael Irvin to keep the defense honest.
There's a lot of things.
Make your fucking decision, man.
It's the same with Brady though. Like a lot of people go, well, it's Bill Belichick. Like, is Brady as good without Belichick? I don't know. Like, we're never going to know.
Yeah. I think what
But it's like, guess what? Brady didn't fucking call that fucking trick play in the Packers game either. To that fucking dump off pass that he threw to Edelman or something, and then Edelman threw like a screen across the field, and it went for like fucking 60 something yards.
Yeah.
It's like Brady didn't call that.
No.
Most likely that was drawn up by fucking Belichick. It's a play calling thing, and you know.
I think my favorite thing about Brady is that nobody was expecting him to be anything.
Yeah.
And
well, they weren't expecting Aaron Rodgers to be anything. You know?
I don't think they were expecting Aaron Rodgers to be this good. I think they were expecting him to be pretty decent. He was still drafted in the first round. I don't think anybody would have predicted Rodgers to be the most talented quarterback of all time.
Thing is, he was projected to be one of the top overall.
Yeah, and I remember watching a thing about him about how strange it was that he made it that far.
Well, the Niners wanted Alex Smith.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
But they regret that.
And Rodgers was a 49ers fan when he grew up, so that would have been all logic pointed to he was going to San Francisco. And they passed him up, and I don't know what they were thinking there, but Green Bay was like, "Hey, let's develop this guy cuz he's got something." And I give their quarterback coach I give their coaching staff a lot of credit for what they did with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's like he wasn't super, super crazy good. He wasn't this good in college.
No.
Like, he jumped up a level
I think
sure.
the big thing with Rodgers, too, because I remember watching him in college, the big thing with him was his poise. The same thing that people talk about with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
You know, they just know how to win.
Yeah, I think guys get stressed out in the pocket when it collapses and they freak out, and then that's when they make mistakes. They fumble the ball, they don't tuck it when they need to, they don't throw it away. It's a thing that like quarterbacks are plagued with, especially right now. You see a lot of guys doing that. Mahomes is really good at not doing that. He knows when to get rid of it, I think.
I really think that the best in the league at that is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He is...
Well, he's also able to escape so quickly.
And he's just... I love Russell Wilson. I think, like, if I could have any quarterback on the Cowboys, it would be Russell Wilson.
I mean, he'd play the same style as Dak. That's the thing.
But you could
plug him in.
He's Dak, but way better.
Right. You could plug him in pretty easy. And that scheme is sort of built for that.
Mm-hmm. And this is another thing, too, is that there's a lot of players that, you know, I was watching this little mini documentary about Michael Vick. You know, this guy did a hypothetical, like, what if Michael Vick never went to prison? And they were talking about it, and I think there's a lot of players, too.
Hard to say, though.
That...
I mean, how old was he at the time?
27?
So he had some years.
But he lost 3 seasons. But at the same time, I also think a lot of players people look at with rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah.
I think Vic is number 1. I'm not saying he wasn't amazing. He wasn't fun to watch. But he definitely wasn't a good quarterback. He was a good player.
Yeah.
You know, he was basically...
I mean, I feel like with McNabb, too.
I was about to just say that.
Yeah, it's a very similar thing where you got, like, you're just a consistent play. Not necessarily like the fucking, you know, a Tom Brady.
I think McNabb was better than Vic. I think McNabb was...
I think he made better decisions, for sure.
He made better decisions, and I think McNabb's problem was he dropped super fast.
Yeah.
Like, the Eagles got rid of him, and he went to Washington, and he was awful.
Yeah.
And then he went to the Vikings, and he didn't even really play. He got fucking outplayed by Christian Ponder.
Oh, I forgot that he went to Minnesota. Yeah, Christian Ponder played well, though, at the time.
Yeah.
And then you had the Vikings were in a weird spot where they had to get, and even Bridgewater played well for them. And now Bridgewater's a backup somewhere.
He's the Saints' backup.
Yeah, okay.
Which is fucking probably one of the best spots to be in.
I mean, it is, but
But he's
You don't
also
get
the furthest
you
thing
don't get
from
any
Drew
field
Brees.
time.
Yeah. I think he's also the furthest thing from Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird because the NFL is definitely a quarterback league, and it's funny when you see teams draft quarterbacks, and as an armchair analyst, you can
Well, it's
kind of
like a
see
lot
what
of
they're
them.
trying to do. You know, what they're trying to do with the quarterback they have, and you can kind of immediately see what kind of scheme they're trying to run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just a lot of quarterbacks that get drafted end up not panning out. 'Cause, most of them don't.
And I think the big problem nowadays is the media hypes them all up.
Yeah.
Like that fucking last year's draft, constantly hearing about Rosen and Allen and Darnold and Mayfield and Lamar Jackson and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then even before that, you were hearing about
Andrew Luck, I mean, at the time when they hyped him up, it's like, has he really broken out though? Like, he's played well, but has he broken out to be like the next Peyton Manning? It's like, no, I don't think so.
I think he's I think he's probably the
I think he's the closest to the way he was hyped.
yeah.
You know?
I was just gonna say that maybe
But
him and Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I think Cam was bailed out quite a bit because that Auburn team was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, that's definitely.
And Andrew Luck played with a Stanford team that, if you go to Stanford, you're really just there for academics,
Right.
And I think Andrew Luck, if he can get back to, and he can, because he's playing really well.
I think their team's horribly managed is part of the problem.
Oh yeah, Indianapolis is the worst. Probably definitely the least talked about worst run franchise in the league.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird when you come into the league and you're hyped up. I think it puts too much on your shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I think another one that's going to break into his zone is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I think Deshaun Watson is the real deal. I think out of all the quarterbacks drafted in the past, 6 years, I would say it's Andrew Luck and Cam Newton.
The Texans have built themselves pretty good.
Deshaun
I mean,
Watson.
they're still a relatively young franchise. Yeah. And it's like to
And
be as good as they are right now.
A lot of their best players are really young, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
J.J. Watt, all of his injuries, he's still pretty young. They got Jadeveon Clowney. They got Benardrick McKinney. They got Zach Cunningham. And then on the offensive side, they've got DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller's great. They just picked up Demarius Thomas, who's a bit older than everybody else.
Well, I feel like just their receivers are just really bailing Watson out of a lot of situations, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a really good receiving core.
Especially with Demarius Thomas now.
Yeah, it's just a good team.
And really, like I've said on the last NFL show, rest in peace, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the league, bar none.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best for sure.
I think it's him, Julio, and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, this year it's weird because a lot of the big receivers have been shut down, it seems like.
And I think Hopkins
Devontae Adams is like the best
Adams
in the
is
league right now.
phenomenal.
Statistically, he's like probably top 3, if not number 1.
Adam Thielen is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think he's actually number 1 in every statistic right now.
Mm-hmm. I think when the Packers got rid of Jordy, they were wondering where the production was going to come from. And obviously it's Devontae.
Yeah, which is weird because I don't know. Do you feel
he was the number 3 guy last year?
I was going to say, do you feel Randall Cobb has kind of fallen off or regressed at all?
I think so.
Did he have injuries or anything like that? Or
oh yeah, he definitely has frequent injuries, but not significant. Like he plays through them, but it's obviously it's going to hinder you. But I think he's still a solid wide receiver, but he's not like a fucking. He's not as well rounded as Devontae is.
No.
I think he's just a good route runner. I think Devontae just can do everything well. He's got really good hands. I think he's just a good player, and he didn't really get his time to shine when Jordy was there because Jordy was just eating up all the throws.
Had that connection with Rodgers, where Rodgers
and you can see that Devontae's starting to get that. And that's part of it, like is that backyard football kind of thing when the play breaks down, just trying to get somebody open is how that team works. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like the way players develop it's so dependent on like who the coach is, what team they're playing with. Like there's a lot that goes into it.
for sure.
There's a lot that goes into all of it, really.
That's what makes football the best sport in the world.
You gotta have everything,
That's why it's so hard to win a Super Bowl, and it's so hard to to keep winning Super Bowls. You know, I think the only other there's only 3 teams that have won multiple Super Bowls since I started watching. 4 teams, and that's the Giants, the Giants, Steelers, Patriots, and Ravens.
Yeah, it's
and
definitely the hardest league to go back to back in. I don't think it's. I mean, you can do it in baseball. You can do it in basketball.
It's even been done in hockey. The Penguins just did it.
I mean, you can do it in football, but it's just. I feel like it's a lot harder.
It hasn't happened in fucking like 15 years.
Right.
Going there back to back seems a lot easier.
Yeah. It's just rough in the playoffs. You know, you lose a game and you're fucked. You know, it's you got to play so well.
For sure. Yeah. What are we at? We're like over an hour right now.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I got work at 6, so I think I'm out.
Okay, bye.
Let's wrap this up.
Clear Shots is available on any of your favorite podcast platforms. ClearShotsPodcast.com is the best place to find all of our social media links. You can find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at ClearShotsPod. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.